Okay, what is the meeting ID? We can then confirm.
407-228-7920.
She is.
Perfect.
Yep.
There we go.
Still looks like, but cool.
It's coming.
What?
It's coming.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay. Can you hear us, Margaret?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can now.
Okay, good.
Can we start over?
We can start over again. Yes.
That'll be better for the recording too.
Right. Hey, good
Okay.
evening, everyone. Welcome to the Benton City Council meeting of March the 7th. Meeting is called to order. And Ms. Funk, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Nation under God.
Thank you. Okay, Margaret, would you please do the roll call?
Okay, Councilman Sandretto,
Here.
Councilman Wadsworth,
Here.
Woman Wadsworth, sorry. Councilman Reed,
Present.
Councilwoman Funk,
Present.
Councilwoman Alcazar,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on now to the consent agenda, which includes the regular council meeting minutes for February 21st, bills and communications.
Madam Mayor, would like to request that the meeting minutes from February 21st be removed for discussion.
Okay,
Anything else?
No.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is amended.
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Funk, aye.
Alcazar, aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Madam Mayor, on page 11 of the minutes from February 21st, which is PDF page number 14. Item number 6, there's a comment that I made about the chamber contract, and we just need to add a couple words to the end of the sentence on number 6. I think it should say both an appearance and fact, comma, to ensure that there are no conflicts of interest. And that's all I got. Thank you.
You're saying this is on page 14,
It's on
11.
page 11
11?
of 14 in the minutes, number
Mhm.
6.
Oh, right here, okay. And what did you want? What was the change?
It should say after fact on the last row, it should say fact, comma, to ensure. And then that there are no conflicts of interest. Thank
Okay.
you. And I didn't realize that Carla wasn't here. I'd sent some other comments. I'm just gonna have my phone up so I can go back and forth, not
Okay.
on the minutes.
Okay, a motion to approve the minutes is amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Funk, aye.
Alcazar, aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, then we'll move to the approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, there's no support for item I1.
That's correct.
That's
Oh,
intentional. You're
the-
asking for approval,
Oh,
but
wait
there's
a
no
minute.
support in the packet. The packet is silent
Yes.
as to that item.
We will have a discussion on that. Yes.
Is it a discussion or is it under?
Well,
approval?
it was going to be an approval, but we have to talk about it a little bit.
So do we
and
need to move it on the agenda?
We can move it to discussion if
Yes.
you'd like.
And then I would also comment that item H2, the City Hall preliminary estimate for completion from Josh. There was no information in the pre-read.
That's
material for
correct.
that.
It's not ready.
So is that an item to be removed then?
That's an item that to be removed.
Thank you.
I have a correction to make to the agenda.
Okay.
It is on item I5. And that is for what it says is mapping update,
Mhm.
but it should read the TIB Seal Coat project. Because we're already doing the mapping. We don't need to do it twice.
So we're not getting an update?
No.
That hurts.
We're gonna talk about it tomorrow night,
Oh, okay.
all tomorrow night. But that should be for the TIB Seal Coat project for task order.
As long as you brought up tomorrow night, that's 6 o'clock, right?
Oh, it's tomorrow night? I thought it was, oh, it is.
Yeah.
tomorrow night. I was thinking today was the 6th, it's the 7th.
Yeah, that's here.
Yes.
I didn't see much on the thing about it, agendas and minutes, so I just thought I'd double check.
I think Alan is handling that meeting, right?
Correct, yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we will post it.
Did we need to post it?
Well, it's
For now.
posted on the website. There's just no time, no agenda or anything, so I just wanted to clarify that
Okay.
while we were
We should
all
make those
on the
changes.
topics.
Was it
Okay.
properly noticed or didn't need to be properly noticed?
I don't know.
I believe Carla said something that it was noticed, but I don't know. I know she's been out, so about getting something up on the website, I don't know.
JB can check that tomorrow.
Any other changes?
Can I just ask a question for the Benton City Chamber of Commerce contract that's currently on items for approval? Can discussion take place? I sent an email.
Yes, we can discuss before approval.
Okay.
Any other changes? I motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second,
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, I.
Reed, aye.
Alcazar, I.
Okay, motion carries. Are there any visitor comments? Okay. I'm not hearing any, so we'll move on then to our regular reports. And Jenny is not here tonight, so that she will give her report next week. Treasurer's report was in the packet.
Madam Mayor may make a comment
Yes,
or ask a question. So
Sure.
thanks so much for preparing and providing the treasurer's report for January and February of 2023. I don't believe the May to December 2022 treasurer's reports have been presented to council. There was 1 month that was presented and there was questions that were pending resolution. So I would just call the question, are the beginning balances for January indeed correct if the rest of the treasurer's reports are pending approval?
okay, Sherry, can you address that?
Pardon me?
Can you address any of that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The treasurer's report?
I don't have the treasurer's.
No,
For
Carla
May-
does that.
May through December, are they completed? No. All right.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Okay,
Is there someone taking notes to follow up with Carla?
Margaret's taking notes.
And I guess maybe down those lines, I have another question I wanted to bring up. Which is just to ask if the state has been contacted, if the staff has been contacted for the mayor's office regarding timing for the state audit to begin. I understand it shouldn't happen during Q1, but we should have a list of initial requests soon if we don't have it already. Do we know if they've contacted us?
To my knowledge, they have not contacted us.
As far as I know, they haven't contacted us.
So with the changes we had and so in the weeds, I'm sorry for everyone. But I just wonder if they have the right contact. Or if emails could be bouncing back, but not going where they need to.
I don't know. I guess we can make a call and see. when they plan to have us on their agenda. Okay, business license report is in the packet. As are the Liquor and Cannabis Board requests. And Jenny will not be giving her report tonight.
Madam Mayor, is there an update from your office regarding the status of city planner applications and process to review and interview candidates?
Yes, Margaret is going to be setting up those interviews.
And who else is on the panel?
Right now, we've asked Jenny to be on there, the planner, and probably Carla and myself.
Thank you.
We have two very strong candidates, so wanted to get to them right away.
That's excellent.
Okay, are there any council committee meetings?
I attended the executive committee for Ben Franklin Transit last Thursday. There really wasn't much in there. They're gonna access some more computer equipment and stuff, but other than that, it was mostly mundane. So that's all I got.
Okay,
Mayor Lehman.
yes,
Hi, this is Brandon Mossa with SCJ Alliance. I have a brief staff report and then an introduction, if that's all right.
oh, we didn't have you on the agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be brief. Just a verbal update of, we're feeling pretty good about the project review process and have caught up. And so, everything warranted for application review and approval is complete. And we're starting our first round of pre-application conferences, which we're excited about to, come in fresh in the beginning with some of these folks that are interested in, executing projects within Benton City. We've been coordinating with Jenny on arranging a schedule, and we're available to participate in that. And so I just, I think that's a worthwhile update, where I know, getting a work plan in place has been a priority, and I feel like we're there with the project review process. Another, important update that we wanted to provide is we have hired a new planner, Mike Manning, who's out of the Tri-Cities area. And so he started this week and is experienced in planning, and we are extremely excited to have him not only come to SCJ Alliance, but to support us with our work in Benton City. So Mike has already hit the ground running and kind of worked through a moratorium update with Rachel. And so he's actually on the call as well. And
great.
I'll kind of turn it over to him for, one more thing, sorry. We have been coordinating a meeting, planning commission meeting too. So March 16th, 6 p.m. We're scheduling our, March planning commission meeting, and there's no action items on the agenda. It's kind of an overview of where we see some of the planning needs, and then talking specifically with the planning commission about the moratorium and opening that up. And then also the sub area plan and kind of what remains to be completed with that. So March 16th, if anybody's interested and available, look forward to seeing you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike and let Mike kind of talk about the moratorium plan and schedule.
Thank you, and welcome, Mike.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thank you for that introduction, Brandon. I am new to SCJ. However, I am not new to the region, so I am very familiar with Benton City. So I am glad to help you folks in this process. I have gone over the moratorium that's in place and the document so far that I believe that AHBL had prepared. And we've worked on some. As for those code updates, in anticipation of the moratorium being lifted, I wanted to take this opportunity to hear feedback from council on the code changes that we're going to be looking to put in place, specifically changes to the residential setbacks and on-street and off-street parking. If anyone has any feedback that they would like to provide, I welcome that. Anything anybody would like to share.
I don't believe any of us know what your
We
proposals are.
haven't seen anything, so once you get it to us, we will take it to the council.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Mike, I'll chime in here too a little bit. You know, rewriting code is very complicated, and it has, you know, strings attached to numerous sections. And so I think if there's any kind of insight of something in particular that you have concerns with or are struggling with, that would give us, you know, I mean, it'll be a holistic review of the code and where there are gaps and in conformance with GMA requirements. But if there are things that are specific to your community that, you know, kind of will help us prep for that. I mean, I think that's kind of what Mike's looking at. I mean, think about things like, you know, design standards or, you know, roadway sections and what's desirable. You know, previous areas
Yes,
of.
I would recommend that you give me a call on Friday and I can go over with you some of the things that are bothering me. I had gone over them with Rachel, but I can do that again.
Of course.
Okay. So I would say call me on Friday and I'll have to look at my calendar here quickly.
And while you're doing that, I can just give a little shout out. There'll be a household hazardous waste collection event, April 1st, 2023. Benton County Solid Waste Committee is putting one on at the Ben Franklin Fairgrounds from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So this is an opportunity to clean out your garages or things in your home that you don't necessarily want to put in your garbage can, but you could take somewhere and properly dispose of. So I will repeat that next city council meeting and make sure that we get the word out.
So I could do a meeting with you at 9 or at 11. If you
9
want.
o'clock, which day? Mayor?
Friday, the 10th.
Friday the 10th?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sure that would work for us.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, any other council want to talk about any meeting attendance?
Madam Mayor, I got some emails about the Benton City, the Coalition for Healthy Benton City. I know we were talking about that at the last meeting and I didn't see anything on the agenda, so I thought I would bring that up. Just for everyone, for the record, their mission is for healthy Benton City is to empower youth, inspire and strengthen the community with the knowledge of prevention. They do have some service opportunities coming up, as well as a survey for the youth, a good youth survey for 2023, and then Easter volunteer opportunity. So I do have more information on that in the emails that I could forward. If you want, I could forward them to Carla. Is that?
Yeah, that would be good. And then
Okay.
she can post
And then
it
she
or
can-
something on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting and they had discussions on the Inland Empire Bike Sonata race. It's a run or a drive or whatever you want to call it. Bike ride, I think is what it is. But that's going to be on May 14th. And they always make a stop at the fire station, and I always try to go down and meet the people that ride and chat with them while they're having refreshments. So I think they'd appreciate any city council that wanted to come down and greet them as well. And we were putting up some signs along the route to encourage them.
Was there a specific time that works for
Meeting,
Early.
early?
Mayor
you'll have them coming all the way through 1 o'clock, because they come back this way too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Mayor Lehman, may I
Yes.
have the floor?
Yes,
This is
you
Wendy
may.
Welch. The Inland
Oh.
Empire Century Bike Ride is on Saturday, May 13th. And we usually go out about 5:30, 6 a.m. and start seeing them come through about 6:15-ish into town very heavily.
Thank you. The other thing, I had a call with the legislative office again. And we talked about various things that were going on with I-82 and the railroad bridge. And the other thing is we have received an agreement form now from the congressional committee that's working on this. And so I would plan to send that out to the council so they can take a look at it. And then as soon as you can, get back to me with whether or not you want me to sign this. I also wanted to send it to the attorney's office to verify before we went ahead signing it.
That's great news, Mayor Lehman. Has the analysis of cash flow planning been considered to see if the city has sufficient funds to pursue?
Well, we figured we
Accepting.
would talk about that on
Perfect.
tomorrow night.
Great. I had one meeting that I would bring up that isn't an actual, it's not a committee report specifically, but would be of interest. Talking to Amanda Hatfield at the county to confirm some details about the positions for council that are coming up. And I confirmed that position 4, which is the position I'm filling currently, along with Diana's position, are actually both going to be up for 4-year terms. So I forwarded that information on to Carla, because I think that there'd been some discussion around maybe they were, maybe they weren't. And encouraged Carla, as she has time and understand that she's really busy, to take a look and make sure that that was in line with what she understood in advance of the filing.
Okay, thank you. The other news I will report is that I have a meeting Thursday with the Port of Kennewick regarding the I-82. So that is encouraging to me. They're interested in the sub-area plan and what's going on there. And I intend to also meet with the Port of Benton.
Madam Mayor, we have a comment from the audience. If you're
Yes,
Kelly Sayer, 28402 North Pear Drive. Right outside, are you talking about the I-82
yes,
expansion?
yes.
Okay, so my backyard is literally city, county. We purchased our properties as view lots. We paid extra for our properties as view lots. So even though I'm not in the city limits, I'm here to kind of state my, I'm not against expansion. I work for the city of West Richland Community Development under Aaron Lambert for years. And when I bought my property, the 20-year comprehensive plan was going through. We were told nothing was going to be developed in that DNR land. Now, 5 years later, I'm facing commercial, which I'm not against commercial from Shell on up, but I am against condos, apartments in my backyard. So I'm just here to kind of, I know I don't have a lot to say because I'm county. But I do want to tell you that a group of our neighbors went to the planning commission meeting. February 7th.
Yes,
Something roughly.
right,
So I'm here to speak our voices.
okay.
There's about 5 or 6 of us. I mean, we've got half-acre lots.
Are you up high or are you down by the road?
I'm down low. I'm the second house in
Second house?
on
in?
Pear Drive. And so we're the older, but then now all these people above us have bought. And they were sold lots. Very $350,000, $400,000 homes as view lots. It kind of is looking like we're gonna lose those. I'm not opposed to it, but I'd like to sit back and rethink as to development on the commercial. I'm all about that by the Shell on up. But why do we have to put condos on the roadway? Can we put them up the
I
park
think-
below?
I think there's some flexibility. It will depend on who DNR chooses to develop that land. We don't really have a say in who goes in there. We have certain land use designations, and the DNR is the one that wanted the residential, because at first I thought it's going to all be commercial or light industrial. But when we met with them, she decided she wanted all residential. And then I said, no, we still need to have some light industrial. So right now the light industrial is planned to be at the lower elevation. So you should be able to see over that.
Yeah, and if you look at ABHL's plan, it's industrial on the frontage road. It's condos, a multifamily, and then residential up on top.
Right.
So I'm just here to kind of say, can we like maybe reverse some of this? The park at the bottom and the condos above. I mean, before you guys just say, yeah, let them. And I worked with Emily and I worked with Nicole for years. And I know they are adjustable.
Yeah. Well, we don't have anything planned as yet.
Okay.
And I don't know where DNR is with the sale of that land, but I know that their goal is to sell it.
Yeah, and I always thought that DNR was part of the Yakima, or the watershed.
No,
It's not part of the watershed.
no, that is not.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question.
Some of it does drain into the Yakima.
You're right, but it's on the back side of the hill, not on the front.
Over on the gravel
Yeah.
pit, that drains.
Back over behind the
Really?
gravel pit. It all comes down through that orchard and then drops right into that basin and comes on out.
Okay, because I noticed American Rock, they put up a whole wall of dirt. That was my other issue, is once they start developing. I know when, we were 2-3 houses in and they started developing the other section. I couldn't keep my house dust free. I mean, dust control is a huge issue
Yeah,
when it comes to developing
Yeah,
all the rest of that.
it is
property.
everywhere for sure. Yeah.
Okay, I just,
Hopefully they will water it down like they're supposed to
okay.
keep
So
the
do
dust.
we have a
in.
timeline when this may go through, may be approved?
Well,
Can I
we're gonna
sell
work,
really quick.
we're gonna try to get the comprehensive plan done this summer.
Okay,
And then it's totally up to DNR when they want to sell it. And how they want to handle it. I know that what they shared with me was that they would like to sell off the residential and then do ground leases on the commercial and light industrial. And they would like to have one developer do all of it, similar to what they did over in Pasco with the is it Lowe's over there?
The Lowe's off of Route
Lowe's.
68 for a
Yeah.
long-term
Yeah.
land.
Right, and they have the land, the one developer does, and he then chooses the types of businesses that go in, and that's what they like, as much handed off to one person that they have to deal with, so.
I guess my main question is like, are we groundbreaking next week?
No.
I know of.
So
Hope not.
to quote some other people in the world, the speed of government is about as slow as it gets.
It is, but I was also working at the city of West Richland when Aho
Yeah,
bought that land. And have you seen it now?
yeah. But
I mean, it was a matter of a year
Yeah.
and
that
there were
went up
75
fast,
houses
yeah.
there.
based on the fact that DNR has the property and it's a little harder to move that piece, as well as the fact that trying to find somebody to develop the whole property at one time. I can't give you a definitive, but I'm pretty sure we're not moving faster than 3 or 4 years to even get started with any kind of
You
groundbreaking.
told me 20 years till I retired.
But that's a good case scenario, right? I mean, you got a lot of, we're still trying to get the plan solidified, trying to find partners. But you know, it is good feedback that, how you'd like to see the property develop. That's important that we're listening to people out there,
Yeah.
so.
And I'm all about that. I bought here for a reason because it was going to be the new West Richland.
Well, and
I was working at West Richland and Aaron said, don't buy in the town you work at. And I watched that whole place develop and it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm not against the development. I'd just like to see it move up the hill slow.
Kelly-
Like commercial first.
it'd be great if you continue to participate in the discussions too.
Yeah,
Because
really.
I think we would all expect,
Yeah,
representing the city and the community, that there's a lot more discussion, as things continue to advance. So it can be inclusive and not only with city residents and county, but I think also there's a lot of other partners around the region that'll have, and stakeholders that'll have important input to provide
Okay.
too. So.
So I collectively told my neighbors, I got all their numbers and I said, I'll go find
Thank
out
you.
because it wasn't on the agenda
right,
listed as the I-82 development.
right.
All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much for listening to
Thank
me.
you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for your comments.
And
I
I will see you
appreciate it.
guys soon.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on then, unless someone has another council report. We'll move on to items for discussion. So we have River North, power layout and easement. Mr. Rainey.
Good evening again.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. So in your packets, you have 2 diagrams. I think it actually came out on 3 sheets. So if you go to the last one to start off,
With the yellow?
yeah, it's got some,
Uh-huh.
it shows the PUD is going to come down Corral Creek Road. And then from there, it'll go south across the well number 4 property.
Mhm.
And then it, in that corner, they will go from underground up a pole. And then run it across the existing poles along the back of the properties of, I think is that 11th, but the Treadway Estates,
They are way against going underground, aren't they?
well, just in that section.
Anywhere
No, they're going underground all
for
along.
us, because we make them,
Yeah.
but.
So along Corral Creek Road, they plan on being underground.
Mhm.
And then underground to that first pole, go up above ground, and then they'll put 1 new pole, and that's in the first slide. That's with the yellow and the red
Mhm.
lines. And just inside their property, they'll put another pole and go down, and then everything will be underground from there.
Gotcha.
So PUD is looking to see if you guys are agreeable to an easement. And then at that point, they would start working up the legal description and in drawing for it.
So the easement's in the county, is it not?
No, they'll have an easement
Oh, across
on
our
Corral Creek,
property.
and then
Okay.
coming south from Corral Creek Road, they'll come across.
Just
well
looks
number
like it's
4.
cutting through some of the backyards. Is that what it looks like?
It's gonna go along their back
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah,
Okay.
where they have existing poles already.
So my major concerns
Mhm.
is if the property in the field behind eventually develops,
Mhm.
they're gonna butt houses back up against that. And a PUD line,
Right.
based on our rules, would have to go underground. And I don't know that they'd want to do that in somebody's backyard.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's a future planning issue,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
What, is this the only option they gave you?
The other options that were looked at were coming through Wrangler Edition. And there they would have cut what they were planning to do is cut a trench down Hugh
Okay.
from 13th
Mhm.
or
12th.
12th all the way to that. And we were trying to push them into an easement inside property lines, so they weren't cutting a fairly new street.
Well, I don't like the idea of them cutting a new street either,
Right.
but there's a couple things here. One is it would be better for power outage issues, right? Because they can dig the street anytime with franchise. They just have to put it back together.
Right.
And B, it's probably not gonna be an issue with the wind blowing it down. Whereas if you have poles on that line, I don't know what you have in there, like 50 houses. They're gonna be all without
Right.
power if there's an issue along there. So that's just a pragmatic piece.
Mhm.
The future expansion or planning issue, if somebody did buy the property south
Right.
or east, you have a redesign. Because you're gonna have to figure out how to get that power around the front of those houses or whatever. My standpoint, and I may stand alone on council on this one, and I'm sure the people on Hugh will hate me, but I would trench Hugh and run it straight in there. That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
But that's just me.
I mean, I'm kind of with David on that one when it comes down to future development, how that will set us up. I guess finding an alternative if we do decide, or if they do decide to develop those lots.
To the north.
What will it look like for them having the power lines there? If it would just be better to have them underground right from the beginning, or like you said, go down Hugh Street and go that alternative, but if they can just do it one slap and put it underground, then it would be there and not have to worry about it.
I would say, thinking about things for the future, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
So I guess just maybe touching base with them and seeing if there's an alternative way of getting around running them above ground for future expansion if they do decide to develop those lots.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mean to make the job more difficult.
Right.
But
No, we'll just, I'll talk with them and
was there any option to come in off Kitty or anything
no, I don't think they have enough backbone, if you will. enough-
on that side?
Yeah,
So they're looking at what they can get off the transformer at Growl Creek.
right.
Which probably doesn't have a whole lot with the development. I see what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you'd almost be better to go right down the center or the side of Growl Creek Road.
Mhm.
Because theoretically, and I'm just spitballing here with sizes of lots. You would be in a roadway anyway.
Right, well, they plan on coming down Crowd Creek Road, actually.
No, where
oh.
it turns.
Mhm.
The actual other, where it goes through.
Oh,
I
okay,
think-
front
go
side of
further
the lot.
east,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
if you're gonna stay on this idea.
Right.
But I'm still a proponent of the Hughes thing.
Yeah,
Take the electrical out of the air, put it underground. But talk to him, see if
Okay.
you can make him happy.
all right. We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The City Hall preliminary estimates were not completed. We were still waiting for a couple of bids. So those did not make it. Hopefully they'll be soon.
Okay.
So the next item for discussion is the digital sign, and Margaret has pulled together a number of things about digital signs. Margaret, would you like to talk about this?
First off, you overlooked the flag, city flag.
That's
A
on the
different
next.
section.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, I'm nervous. In your packet, did you see the information about the digital signs?
Yes.
Okay, this has been something that's been near and dear to my heart for a long time for Benton City, and Linda will probably tell you that I've been trying to champion this for a while, because I really think that Benton City would benefit quite a bit by a digital sign because of all of the ways that it would communicate with everybody, and could generate revenue, keep everybody apprised of what's going on, and where different parks and landmarks are located, and announce special events. And it would be a great way to keep the people on I-82 South apprised of what's going on, because they would see that digital sign with all that information. That information could be on there. And I think that is one of the main things that I think would be a good idea for Benton City. And it's a good way to post emergency updates and get more people to come into the city and promote more sales and generate revenue. And I think it'll make people a lot happier to have that type of communication. Now, I have not checked on the price of a digital sign. I know it's not cheap, but, and also not quite sure where it could be located. I know I talked a little bit to Linda about this, Mayor Lehman about this, and it's like, could we put it here? Could we put it there? And I thought one place that might be a good idea would be in that little alcove right there where, on the curve where Babs Avenue is, when you come into Benton City, there's a curve there,
Where the flagpole is.
or the flagpole, or either in front of the old city hall. But it's just something that I think that council should consider, this digital sign.
One of the things that we had talked about was having it where we could see both sides of it, like Mr. Smith's sign. He has it so you can see it in both directions. And, someplace where we could put it out like that would be ideal, so that we get both directions of traffic. I kind of like the idea of Babs there near the flagpole. I thought that was a good location because it would get people early as they're coming into town. But also down somewhere in front of the bridge or someplace where I don't know that we would want it on the roundabout. It would be too distracting for traffic, but if you all think it's a good idea, we could start looking at different places and take recommendations. But I agree with Margaret that it's time that we had something like that.
I've been trying to get this going for about 3 years, I think.
Yeah. I think we've discussed it before in council too.
Dollar General corner would be a good spot.
Dollar General would be a good spot, yeah.
You can coming, going.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. If they'd let us put it on their land. They'd probably charge us, that's okay.
There's a bus stop next to
The
the
Butterfly Park.
Butterfly Park,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I think is
Butterfly
ours,
Park. Yeah,
but,
Yeah.
It's my fault.
yeah.
thank you for that.
There's all sorts of things we can do with digital signage. However, I think even that one that you're seeing down there at the UCell Park area, I'm sure that wasn't cheap.
I think
And-
they're gonna be at least $10,000.
They're very expensive, yes.
And we have a lot on our plate right this minute. Not that I don't think this warrants further discussion as part of a future plan, but I don't know that it's something we should tackle right this minute until we figure out budgeting.
Yeah, I think we
100%.
need to figure that first, yeah.
So
So maybe we bring it again in a month or two.
we can look at if we can make sure that we're in the golden, in the black. So
Okay,
And I think focusing on some of the other things that have been brought our way with like the Frisbee thing. I mean, there's been so many great ideas coming our way that we keep saying, yes, we support this and we're behind it, but financially we kind of come up short
Mm.
on being able to do some of these things. It would be nice to kind of move forward on some of the projects that we already have kind of slotted forward for us. So I'm not opposed to it. I think, maybe further down the line, but focusing on some of these parks and some of these other things that we have put on the top plate for quite a while, I think is something that we should definitely focus in and try to follow through at least on a couple of them.
okay,
I'd echo everyone else's comments and say that while I think it's a great idea, we can't wait till tomorrow's meeting so we can see Alan's project passing into the budget for the first time ever.
See what's left.
Terrific. And I would also just comment on some of the reasons that Margaret's highlighted in terms of putting this together. Again, I would be supportive of it, but it talks about generating ad revenue. And I think besides budgetary constraints, I think you also have staff constraints that we need to look at. As noted in the minutes on page 6, item 3 by myself and a number of other recent meetings, the city has a fee schedule and is supposed to be charging back people who are doing building plus adding on an administrative fee, and that's not happening. I have serious
No, we're
concerns
working
from
on
a
it.
fiscal responsibility standpoint, but
We're-
trying to add more to staff's plate where we're trying to bill for other things. Thank you.
okay. All right, we'll bring this back up in a couple of months, Margaret.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to items for approval and,
Actually.
oh, actually, we moved item
Yeah.
1 up there.
Sure.
So we have Cameo Vista.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm
Say
happy
a few
to
things.
chat about that. So it sounds like there was a long plat subdivision that was approved called Cameo Vista back in March of 2018. And based on our current code as well as state law, plats are good for 5 years. The big upside to a plat approval is that you're vested with the land use and design standards, all the standards and land use requirements that would be in place at the time that you go through your platting process. For that 5-year period, that's what you've been vested to. So that's kind of the upside of having that time period so that you can plan accordingly and you have 5 years to get what we call final plat approval. So essentially what we've got is a request from Cameo Vista. They were approved by resolution 218-05 back in 2018. And so what they are requesting, they're set to expire, their plat is set to expire March 20th of this year, 2023. So essentially what they have done is ask for an extension and based on a lot of things, but I'll just read it to you real quick so that you're all clear. We're asking for an extension for the preliminary I think they meant to say preliminary plat to develop the property located at 14th Street and Chris. Because of COVID, we had to shut down many projects in progress. We have recently started up again. Our licenses never lapsed and is current. We are excited to move forward with this, to get this behind us. As for workforces coming into workplace, we are very confident starting this project attaches the latest Department of Health, Washington's chart of basically showing now that COVID is over. Thank you for your consideration ahead of time, Cameo Vista. So the request has come in for an extension. So we got a couple of things here. Our code, specifically BCMC 17-16-220, which is referenced in the resolution approving the plat, as well as the statute 50, for the record, let me make sure I read it in 58-17-140. So both are referred to in the resolution. And essentially what our code says is that a final plat shall be submitted to the city council for approval within 5 years of the date of preliminary plat approval. Prior to receiving a final plat approval, lots in any approved preliminary plat shall be valid, vested land use under the statutes, ordinances, and regulations in effect at the time a complete application was received for 5 years from the date of the preliminary plat approval, comma, and this is the important part, unless the city council finds that a change in conditions creates a serious threat to the public health or safety in the subdivision. Now, originally when Jenny and I believe, I'm not sure if Carla was involved in that as well, but when this came over, the thought was that based on that provision, council could extend it. That's not what I'm interpreting that to mean. That's not an extension. That is referring to if the plat conditions that the person was vested to no longer are safe, you have essentially a veto to be able to change something that may have been vested for 5 years. That gives you your out for public health and safety and you're under your police powers of the Constitution. So anyway, with all that, what I'm saying is you don't currently have anything that I've been able to spot in your code that would allow some kind of extension. So kind of go back to, okay, well, that's the code provision. Then we go back to the state law. So under 58-17-140 talks about how they lay out the timelines, the same 5-year timelines that are in our code. But then at the very end, it says, paren 4 says, nothing contained in this section shall act to prevent any city, town, or county from adopting by ordinance procedures which would allow extensions of time that may or may not contain additional or altered conditions and requirements. So essentially, that's the catch-all that completely turns it over. So this is the state law. Here's the 5-year minimum. Everybody gets that. If you want to get crazy after that, that's up to you. You can't go less than that, but you can always go more. You could put in some other things. So with that being said, it's like, okay, well, what would something like that look like? So I went ahead and just for comparison's sake, I pulled Pasco just to see what they had and said one of the things they have in their code is the same 5-year requirement, but they also talk about how an applicant who files a written request with the Department of Community and Economic Development at least 30 days before the expiration of the 5-year period may be granted a single 1-year extension upon showing that the applicant has attempted in good faith to submit the final plat within the 5-year period and there are no risks to public health and welfare. So that's just an example of something. You're like, thanks, you're giving us an example of something we don't have. Only reason why I'm getting at all that is I don't see any way that the city has an ability to extend this plat because we have to do it by ordinance. So if that is something, but that's the bad news. Good news is it's really up to you how you want to do that. And so what I'm trying to say is if you wanted to find a way to try to do that, I think there could be some options. I don't know exactly what they are, and you have to be careful because land use is very, very complicated stuff and treacherous in terms of damages. So we need to talk about what we could do, whether there's something we could put in the code if the council was even interested in trying to extend the plat. Currently, I don't see that you have a way to do it, but it would take some work to get us all there. And I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if that would look like we'd need to have another special meeting to adopt some kind of ordinance, so then we could.
And this has to be done prior to March 20th, because that's when it.
Maybe. So,
okay.
yeah. And so, no, that was the first blush. Now, is there I don't think that there's anything that would prevent you from saying within a 30-day time period prior. I mean, obviously Pasco says 30 days prior, but does that mean that you can't extend that if it's within a 30-day grace period after the date expires? I don't know, but that's the treacherous part that keeps me up at night. So it would take some work. And so the reason why I'm talking about it is because resources are thin these days in terms of labor on my end. And so if it's something that the council is absolutely going to need to make a priority, we'll figure out a way to get it done, to get you your answers. But I need to know whether that's something that the council is really interested in doing, because currently I don't think that you have any way to do that.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the questions. First question. Obviously, COVID put everybody into a state of emergency.
Mhm.
Under a state of emergency, is there any administrative powers that can extend that timeframe?
No, because the statute requires it to have been done by ordinance. That's the really sticky part of this, is that it's very specific. A lot of times they'll say the governing body. Well, that doesn't say whether it needs to be a motion, a resolution, or an ordinance. So we could do something, but this unfortunately is very specific about how you have to adopt these procedures by ordinance. And then that also, just to add a little more complexity to this, there's a 5-day ordinances like resolutions, we pass them and they're effective right away. Ordinances take 5 days.
Well, again, under the emergency powers clause, isn't it the administrator's purview at that point to take action to follow it up with approval of an ordinance to fix that at the next council meeting?
You're saying, so if the state of emergency has been declared and there's some authority that the head of the city would have.
Well, they have ultimate authority at that time, correct?
Well, not necessarily. So it depends. It's very, very enumerated in terms of what they're trying to do to deal with the emergency. So there would have to be a showing that there's a connection between this and that.
Well,
And
the COVID timeframe, that's what I'm getting at here, right?
you could try that. I mean, that might be a way to get there, but the concern would be how you follow that up. I mean, are you going to be able to do something temporarily and then come back after the fact? So that is an alternative we can look at. But is our emergency declaration still in effect? Or did we-
Well, I don't believe it's been rescinded.
I don't know for sure.
So,
Okay.
and council hasn't shut it down as of yet. So
Okay.
those are the two ways that it can be taken and ended. I threw that option on the table just because I don't believe it's been shut off. My second question. By ordinance, could we not backdate and say retroactively to the first of the year, this is the ordinance that we want to put in place and give that extension?
No, so that's the problem we would have. We would
Okay.
have to make the ordinance, and that's why they put that 5-day requirement in there, so that for that very thing, because a lot of that's what they call ex post facto. So in other words, it's after the fact, and so that's and folks under due process requirements would need to know that those were the laws that were in place at the time that they made those decisions. So if we retroacted, then it wouldn't be enforceable. So that's an issue. But what you could do is maybe we could look at, but you're not going to keep in mind, you're not only going to do it for this one, you're going to do it for all the ones
Everyone.
coming forward.
Well, yeah, so I don't see, and obviously COVID taught us a little bit of a lesson, right?
Mhm.
Many lessons, but let's go with this one.
Sure.
And that's that naturally in that type of environment, we have some sort of delay. And there's no way to fix that delay. So essentially, and this is my take on this, we've taken what gives them 5 years,
Mhm.
and they've lost 2 just right out the gate. So I mean, and I mean, we're in a real tight crunch here if we want to get this happening. When's the next council meeting?
The 21st, so it's a day after it expires.
Yeah, it would have to be some kind of special meeting by next Tuesday, because you'd need 5 days for the ordinance to
Right.
take effect.
Effect.
And I guess my question would be, they knew that it was going to be expiring and they had quite a while to bring it to our attention about, the COVID situation. Hey, we're up against this wall. I know that this is going to be expiring March 20th, and this is the first time, at least I'm hearing of it. And so that's where I'm having a little bit of hesitation. They could have brought it to our attention, say, hey, everything's been on back order where we can't move forward because of the,
Last year, October of last year.
absolutely. And now we're waiting
2021.
just a couple weeks shy of,
I got it on the second, so.
and
Yeah, that's when we got it.
I feel like there was enough time
Yeah, Jenny's-
for them to bring this to our attention prior to just a couple weeks
What's the
before it
date on it?
expires.
We got it from, I think the staff sent it to
Yeah.
all of us on the second.
Yes,
The date on this, it doesn't have a date.
I'm just saying, I mean, even us getting it on the second, I don't feel like was, enough notice for us to try to,
Well, that wouldn't qualify under Pasco. It's not that I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Show you, I mean, even they require a 30-day prior to.
But that's where I'm getting at here. If it came in at or before 30 days and it didn't get scanned and sent to us or,
Oh, I'm seeing what you're getting. Okay.
right?
So maybe
So-
there was a lag between staff and.
Right. So it may have came in and maybe they're operating under what they believe should be. And this is the fallacy that people believe is that every city, every municipality operates the same. And obviously, I'm assuming if they're developers, they've done other developments, so they've probably worked in venues where they believe they had a 30-day window, right, to get that in. So I'm not gonna pick on them right now until I know for sure. But I guess what's our resolution? I don't want to have a special meeting, but
There'd be plenty of the information that.
That's so
covered.
weird.
Maybe we do a poll of the council, because I would say personally, I'm not supportive of taking any action.
I was gonna say, I think I need more information and find out before I move forward on making a decision on this.
Well, I think maybe one way we can go, and Mayor, you let me know if this works for you, but maybe one way we can go is to start to get a little more information between now and then. And then if it looks like there's something that's going to be, I don't want to say just positive, but if there's something that's truly significant. And at that point, the mayor always has the authority to try to call a special meeting. And we
I
can,
am totally in favor of that. If there's something that we can do with
Well,
this short of a notice.
My worry is with the new design standards, if we are throwing all of those out the window, if we have to let everybody in, and I wouldn't want that to happen.
Is the city prepared to handle and pay for supporting that activity? And
well,
is that a priority of the city?
so we don't have to throw them out the window and we don't have to leave it as is.
I'm confused. What are we throwing out the window?
The design
new
standards that
design
have already
standards.
been created for R2 and R3.
No, good. No, yeah, no, this wouldn't have anything to do with that. That's why they want to keep this, is because they want the 5-year
Yes.
old
Right.
stuff.
And we already have people coming to every other council meeting asking for exceptions. Because of some of the situation that's occurred around design standards.
Yeah, okay.
But doesn't Pasco say something about updating or?
No, so one of the, yeah, it's funny because it has two components to it. It has a 30-day prior portion, but then it also has a 1-year extension upon showing that the applicant has attempted in good faith to submit the final plat within the 5-year period, and there are no risks to public health and welfare. That, in this particular case, doesn't sound like that's even close, because there's clearly been no attempt to final plat this because it hasn't even begun. So I don't even think they would qualify under that standard, but that's not your standard. So you can.
Well, we need to address our standard as a future item, but the other piece to this is that I think I'm gonna go in totally the opposite direction and say, based on the way Pasco's reads and what common sense would tell me, other than a COVID exception for extension, I don't think that, and that's what they're trying to prove right there. I'm kind of wishy-washy as to whether or not they're qualifying.
If I may have the floor for a minute, I did look up, we were discussing the state's COVID emergency orders. And I found on Governor Inslee's website dated October 28th, 2022. It says, as the governor announced last month, Monday will be the last day of the governor's COVID emergency declaration.
Yes,
So that
but
would have ended back.
our city is still under it.
Our city is, okay,
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's been rescinded.
okay.
We need to check on that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Unless we had a date on it.
Right,
to-
yeah, I don't think we did, but, because I want to recall that, that was a
I just don't
discussion.
remember for sure if it had
Yeah.
90 days or something. I think we extended for 90 days or
Okay.
each time. I
Or-
don't think we extended.
We started making
Indefinitely.
everything syncing up with the state at some point. I
Yeah.
think we really started trying to do that. So, yeah, we'll nail that.
Oh, we need to verify that.
Okay.
and Make sure that that's
So
taken
what
care
I'm
of.
hearing is unless we'll get a little more information, but unless we see something significantly different than what you are seeing today, you're not interested in. That's it, because it would be a heavy lift, I'll be frank, in terms of trying to allocate some time to put into it, and then obviously trying to figure out the dance,
So
if it's even possible.
what's their option to come back and reapply for?
Is that how that works?
Another 5 years.
Another 5 years.
Yeah, they just have to go through the plot process again, and of course, they have to.
And I'm just afraid if we open this up, how many other situations
Yeah.
are gonna come forth and I just, yeah. I'm concerned
And you,
about it.
you mentioned the term intention. I'm not seeing any intention of moving this forward since September 2nd of 2018. So
Do we need to take a vote?
even,
Is that what
even,
we're saying?
even with a 2-3 year COVID, they still have 2 additional years to have an intent to move forward on this. So
I'm very supportive of working to get it cleaned up though,
yes,
so we're not in a pickle going forward.
for future use.
Really, the
Okay.
thank you
Yeah.
for the feedback around doing good and being like you're going to work.
Like we know what we do, what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. The next item is the Chamber of Commerce contract.
Just want to thank everybody for their time.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
All right, good evening, everyone. So as it was discussed last week, we presented the 2023 scope of work proposal for the Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Information Center with the city of Benton City. Everything as far as the scope of work substantively was exactly the same as the previous year. No changes except for the one exception, which was where the mayor had informed us that we needed to have that reviewed by the city attorney. I'm understanding that took place and we received on Thursday last week the update which included the contract portion of that for the city for your guys' review. For those that are new or haven't seen this before, we focus on 4 main areas. So visitor information services and tourism services, the Chamber of Commerce in terms of marketing assistance for businesses, business development, and then also community activities and engagement. Those 4 areas are still the same, which include our events and year-round programs and activities. Everything, like I said, is substantively the same. When I received it on Thursday, I reviewed it, spoke with Linda later that night regarding making sure that it was reviewed by legal counsel, and it was. And then on Friday morning, after I had a chance to review it more so, there are just 2 small, I very much believe incidental changes to the actual contract verbiage that I'd like to ask for consideration of. And also start by saying that these 2 things have already been approved by council in the past 2 years worth of contracts since 2021. The first part was in section 3. It says a chamber representative currently states a chamber representative shall be available at the second regular city council meeting of each month to report on projects and coordinate with the city for implementation of the scope of work. Again, in 2021 and the consecutive year to follow, this was amended to say a chamber representative shall be available at the second regular city council meeting of each quarter. We've always reported on a quarterly basis, so just reflecting that inside the contract. And then section 6 currently states in consideration of the performance of services specified in this agreement, the city shall pay to the chamber for those services provided in the scope of work for 2023, an amount not to exceed $46,500 to the term hereof to be paid upon timely submitted invoices. And this is the portion of it, submitted invoices containing a detailed statement of services and tasks performed, monthly meeting minutes and treasurer's reports. I sent to the group on via email that this should be amended to say, I'm just going to go past the 46,500 for the term hereof to be paid upon timely submitted invoices containing a detailed statement of services and tasks performed. So in 2021, when we met together and got the language put together, we just wanted to express that we want to just be treated as any other contractor that the city works with. And we've been a good steward of the city's resources and funds, and continue to report and give detailed reporting on a quarterly basis. Treasurer's reports and meeting minutes, we felt were beyond the scope. And again, that's been the last 2 years that verbiage has not been included. But other than that, it's exactly the same. Amounts totally the same. Just those 2 incidental changes. And if there's any questions, happy to answer. But yeah, that's the contract proposal for 2023.
Those sound very incidental to me.
Those don't, you said?
They do.
Oh, gotcha. gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sound incredibly.
Yeah, so just real quick, to go to the question, because I know there was some changeover with regard to the contract, or were those changes actually in the contract the last 2 years? So.
The actual contract verbiage, yes, they were.
Gotcha, okay. So what may have happened, this may be the template that was used before.
That's what I believe had happened, because
Okay.
everything else looked exactly the same as in previous years. It's just, I think Jenny in particularly was the one who made those edits in the 2021 and 2022 contract.
Okay,
And so,
we didn't have them on.
yeah.
Okay, that explains, okay.
And they're not published on the city's website at this time because they're working to get caught up on the scan the return documents.
Yeah, the only legal comment about that would be that the most important part is obviously that the submitted invoices containing detailed statement of services. That way we don't run into any kind of gifting issue, but
Yep.
Other than that, that's other just preferences for the council.
So I'll just say for the record again, if it doesn't sound like a lot more discussion, that although I'm very supportive of the city chamber, I will abstain from voting because my husband is vice president of the chamber.
Waiting for somebody to give a motion.
Okay, well, you're just looking at me and I just want to let you know, like, I'm completely.
Oh, I know where
abstaining,
you're at.
Even though there's no funds that are paid to him or anything else, just to me.
They're all trained to wait for you, David.
Come to the chamber, we all wait for David.
I do have a couple questions, if you wouldn't mind humoring me since I am new.
Absolutely.
My experience with chambers is that the funds come in to support the chambers from the businesses. And I understand the RCW does allow for the city to help fund that. I was looking on the websites and it wasn't just your website. I was getting in Prosser's and Grandview's and West Richland, a number of different chambers,
Mhm.
trying to find financials of what your expenses are. Is that available to us to where we could see what monies are coming in and what monies are going out? And then also, I would like to see, have the businesses seen an improvement and benefits of being part of the chamber?
Absolutely. And all those are absolutely valid questions. I'd say historically, so when we first presented the idea of this contract, again, for historical purposes in 2018, I would say that the chamber, especially over the last 5 years versus in 2018 and thereon before, was completely volunteer run. It was also volunteered, paid. There was people paying out of their pocket to support the chamber, because there wasn't the revenue to frankly keep the lights on, if that. And so when we started researching the idea of setting up an agreement with the city, for example, Prosser, as you mentioned, so I'm also on the board for Historic Downtown Prosser Chamber of Commerce. I know that the Prosser Chamber of Commerce, for instance, I think their contracts to the tune of like 92,000 with the city. The Historic Downtown Prosser, I think, is like to the tune of, I think, 38,000. And it's because there's a lot of ways that we perform city, we do perform city-like services. And since, for instance, we don't have we have a Parks and Recreation department here within the city, but when you compare that our current Parks and Recreation department to that maybe at Richlands, where and even Prosser's, where they're putting on city activities, city events, tourism services for Historic Downtown Prosser, for example, that's where we've kind of connected those bridges, and that we see ourselves as a contractor for the city to provide said services. And that's where this kind of has diverted to. And I think that both of course, from my perspective, which I'm of course biased, but and I would say also from the community perspective, seeing what has occurred from our office in the 5 years, I think is without a doubt increased substantially. And what we're doing for the city, the benefits that it provides not only to businesses, to the citizens. As you mentioned, like do the businesses get a benefit? Absolutely. We've seen, again, when I started in 2018, I think we had a membership of maybe 40. And that was made up of not just Benton City businesses, but a lot of others too. And last year we ended, I think, at 92. And we're already at 65% retention, and we're in March. And so, yes, the businesses, I would say, are getting a lot better benefit, being a member of the chamber. But because we're performing services beyond just business marketing, that's where this contract comes into play. That's a long-winded answer. And as far as financials, that's where we've always provided the invoices to the city when we do these quarterly reports. I've personally been the one that's done them, so I try to make them as detailed as possible. Here's what if we're invoicing for community events, did it pay for the tents? Did it pay for the speaker systems? Did it pay for our insurance? Did it pay for XYZ printing services for the information packets and things like that? Beyond that, financials are available to those that are interested in coming to our meetings, that we're an open book, and that's what we've always said, that we're not trying to hide anything. So those are always available.
And for like the markets, I forget what they're called, when people have their tables set up, the booths and all that.
Mhm.
So they're paying fees. So that goes into help, that rolls back into
Correct.
supporting.
It does. It's certainly, like, by no means, for instance, have we ever made a profit? Like we are very break even. Our dues, for instance, for a business member to join our organization, a business, let's say, to join the Chamber of Commerce, I think starts at 50 for the year. Compare that to Prosser, for example. At Prosser, I think you start at 225. West Richland, a lot more. And frankly, where we've kind of came from our end of it is that we do a lot more advertising, I would say, stacked up against other chambers for businesses, because there was that unfortunate reputation prior to 2018 that businesses weren't getting the bang for the buck that they were paying for membership. So we've really built that up over the last 5 years, and we try to keep it small so that it is affordable and that everyone can come in.
And are the memberships tiered? I think I saw that they're tiered by the number of employees.
Correct. Yep.
Which
Absolutely.
is normal from what I've seen in other chambers across the state.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to keep it accessible, and that's been our biggest thing. We haven't raised membership dues, and I should say we haven't raised membership dues by more than $10 in 2 years. So it's not.
And of course, it goes up as more businesses join too.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, if there's no more questions, I make motion to approve resolution 2023-2 for the 2023 Benton City Chamber of Commerce agreement with the city of Benton City, Washington, in the amount of $46,500
Second.
Can we just add as amended?
as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandretto, aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Abstain.
Alcazar, aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Dakota. And I see all the
Yes,
great work
thank
that you
you.
guys are doing, and I look forward to many more years of you guys.
Well, thank you guys very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Dakota. And a great way to check things out would be to go on Thursday, the 16th. It sounds like there's a planning meeting, but if you have 30 minutes, blank slate, the Building Bridges regional event. It'd be really great to see it in action. I think last year there was a ton of people from all over the region. We get a lot of really good press, and I'd expect even more. We Benton City, that is, even more people this year come out and attend.
5:30.
Okay. Moving on now to city flag. Several months ago, probably a year or so ago now, we brought in a few flag designs, none of which really were what we wanted to see. And so we went back to the drawing boards. And we did try again to get the schools involved, but we just have not had much luck doing that. So out of the blue one day, I received an email from France from a gentleman whose children were studying the United States and they wanted a city flag. And so I wrote back and I said, gee, we don't have a city flag, but I'll get you one from the state. So I got them a state flag. And the children were very happy. They're quite young. And anyway, I mentioned to the father, since they're interested in flags and have seen a lot of them, maybe they'd be interested in designing a flag for Benton City. So what we got back is the second drawing in the packet. And so I called Wendy and appealed to her design expertise. And together we tried to interpret this little drawing into something a little more modern. So we kept the snow-covered mountains, we kept the sun, we kept, we added the fields because there wasn't much fields here. I think this green at the bottom is supposed to be a field. And then we also added the blue for the river. And then the grapes, Wendy interpreted as the grapevine, which eventually turns into wine going around the wine color. And this would be all on a white background flag. So that is what we came up with, and we're hoping you like the design and would be willing to move forward with that one.
First of all, I'm excited that this has kind of come to life, and I think it's time for some new bright colors. I'm actually, when I opened the packet, I was very shocked on how it looked, and I think it's very appealing and eye-catching. I like all the colors that are involved in it. At the same time, I think it also represents Benton City, if you look at it that way. And now that you've explained it a little bit more, I think it's great. So for me, I'm excited for anything new and exciting. I'm guessing David has something else to say here.
Why is
I see this look coming from the corner of my eye over here, so.
Oh, I was listening.
At least for me, I think this is great, and I appreciate everybody that has put the time and effort into coming up with such a great idea, so thank you.
Yes, Wendy did a great job. She's very talented when it comes to things like this.
I think it looks terrific. My only feedback would be, this maybe comes from working to get Trideck to put Benton City on their website, which is coming. If there's any way to get anything that's a little bit more grapey in there, then fine, but I totally understand the essence of it, and I think it looks beautiful and how exciting. I think we'll be able to hopefully use that. When I say we, not just the city, but the community, I think it resonates and looks really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So.
Nothing else.
I like that it included the river, to be honest with you, because that is, we cross over the river coming right into Benton City when you come into town, and the sunrise, I didn't get the wine, but I don't drink, so that's probably part of it. And to me, the plant just looked like a plant. I didn't associate it with wine at all, to be honest. But
So, since I'm the bad guy, feedback wise, I think it looks great. My only concern is that if we're gonna start flying this around Benton City, white is gonna dirty fast.
oh, that's true.
It's gonna be a replace monthly type thing, especially during the
Well, I don't know
summer.
if do we plan to fly it around or just have?
Why
it?
not?
I don't
I
know.
was going to say.
You might want to put it up on a pole or whatever somewhere downtown underneath the flag.
Maybe on tan or something.
I was
Well-
gonna say, even on white American flag lines, they stay fairly white. I mean, I think the product that they use nowadays has the ability to
just throwing it out there.
You know, I get it. I thought the same thing. I'm like, white's a tricky color to keep clean, but I know technology has come a long ways and maybe that's something we can look into on.
Well, I think Wendy, if you're still on, did you tell me you researched city flags and there were quite a few of them that were white?
Yes, the majority of them had a white background, and what I read up on was that they are made out of a material that is pretty well scotch guarded, but that if you scotch guarded them too, that would help officially too.
Yeah, that's my only
But
feedback.
we
on
could
it.
easily change the color to any color that anybody desires at any point. Everything is completely editable.
I think the design's great. I mean, just a thought in my brain, and not that it's something to run with, because the white does make it pop. But I thought about our sunset colors, right, on the outside of the circle. But that's just my brain working creatively. So
We can,
I was gonna say, Wendy, would it be possible to maybe give us a couple different ideas on background? If you could come up with a background, couple different choices.
Yeah, give me a week or so and I will send something to City Hall for the next council meeting.
Thanks, Wendy.
thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys have any like color requests or thoughts, can you send them my way too?
Great purple.
Well, the only reason I bring up grapes is because I just have the idea that once the other cities see how great this looks, and we're talking about Red Mountain, we have Eric over here taking Tabasco already. And I feel like, well, I understand the essence, we are the entry to Red Mountain. So if we want to take credit for any more of that,
so put some small grapes up.
I
here.
don't know. I don't want to ruin it. It looks so clean and so classy.
I was gonna say, I love the straight lines. I love the way it looks,
Yeah,
but I'm
it
also
does look
open
great.
to,
Stunning.
if you can throw a couple grapes in there, that makes it look the
Because
same.
this is An item for approval, do we need a motion to table?
Yeah, if you're not ready to approve, yeah, you can just.
You guys good?
I like
Yeah.
the sunset idea colors too.
Yeah, let's go
Just
2
leave it
weeks
up.
and we'll bring it back up next
See what
meeting
Wendy comes
and
up
see
with.
what Wendy has to offer.
Okay,
I
sounds
make
good.
a motion to table this
To the next meeting.
flag adoption until the March 21st meeting.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, then
Don't we-
Excuse me, we need a roll call.
We had a roll
Yeah,
call
we
around
need
the
to
table.
vote on it.
oh, okay, all right. So do we have a first and second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, please signify
Sandra,
by
do I?
saying aye.
Wadsworth, I.
Reed, aye.
Okay.
Apple eye.
Thank you. Worried about what comes next.
Again. It's like a bad penny.
All right, so before you have a task order for the bridge inspection. And the way we figured to do this is that we would do all the coordination work and have a sub-consultant do the bridge inspection. That way, we're not wasting about a month's worth of time to get contracts and everything in order. We've gotten responses from 2 structural engineers that do bridge inspections. We sent it out to 3, and these 2 that we received were Sergeant Engineers and PBS Engineering. And from what we're getting is we're probably going to go with Sergeant Engineering. All their engineers they have a national certification. It's I forget what the acronym is, but they're basically certified, to inspect bridges. This is a little different bridge. They say you don't actually have to have a certification for, but I think with that in-depth background, I think those guys would be pretty good. And their work will include under the bridge or under the water inspection, the diver. And then as far as under the bridge, they're saying this is open enough that a guy can actually lean down and look up underneath to inspect the bottom rail part.
Hmm.
And they said this is not an uncommon thing. It's happening all over the country, you know, because of the Rails to Trails initiative. And as far as the capacity of the bridge, they don't see a problem with it because that thing's designed to take
Locomotives.
rail cars that are fully loaded, and it's like either 300 or 400 feet long. So you can imagine how many rail cars can be on that. And if we're talking at the most having a maintenance vehicle go over it, they said that there's substantially less load. So they haven't seen an issue with that. But so if we approve this task order, then we can get somebody out. They'll be out in mid-April and have that thing inspected.
I do see on budgeted, it says no on the railroad task order for inspection.
Right.
But the $2 million federal appropriation is
Yes.
budgeted. There's just no expenses in the budget right now. 'cause the
Okay.
Expenses still need to be added, at least not this budget that the city approved. There's zero expenses related to the federal appropriation. It only shows the $2 million in revenue.
Right, because I don't think we heard when you guys did your budget, we hadn't really heard.
The budget
If-
also is not
yeah.
balanced. So right now the budget says we have $2 million in revenue with no offsetting.
Okay.
expenses, Which is not how we'd expect to do a budget.
Yeah.
Well, here's logic on this is we can't do anything with that $2 million on this bridge until we know whether or not it's safe. So
Absolutely.
I think we need to have that done and make sure that that's a feasible option.
I think it can also help us go back to Union Pacific to further negotiate price.
Yes.
I agree.
That's another key element for the project team to work on drafting and sequence.
I think they should just give it to us free.
I
I
agree
do.
too.
I think we should, we could save that for tomorrow's deep discussion once we see the cash flow, how the city intends to pay for it and the sequencing it. But I think we should absolutely leverage every single tool and elected official to help champion getting it for free.
Well, I leverage you. 'Cause you got it.
I think we just, I mean, Mayor Lehman's done a absolutely fabulous job, and I agree that we absolutely should continue to push it all the way up Union Pacific to their lobbyists in DC to help just have them give it to us.
Well, I think if we can ever get the park completed and this trail in, and I think it'll be a great venue for people and a great place to just go hang out by the river. But we got to get there.
And it'll be timely and coming up quick. I mean, how cool could it possibly be at the time that city council, if it's appropriate, is in a position to be able to accept the $2 million federal appropriation, have a comment from Union Pacific saying, and we're gifting the bridge.
That would be great.
I see you working magic over there, Sarah.
Support the reimbursement. Looking forward to it.
Well, with nothing more, I motion to approve resolution 2021-19 for task order number 2023-3 in the amount of $35,000 for Spank Engineering to complete railroad bridge inspection with assistant consultant, including bridge and underwater evaluation.
Oh, second.
All right.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All in favor? please
Sandra, do I?
signify by saying aye.
Wadsworth, aye.
Reed, aye.
Okay.
Alcazar, I.
Okay,
Right.
motion carries.
Get that rolling.
Thank you, Alan.
Yep.
Okay, and then
Then
we have one more from Alan.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Tib seal coat.
Okay, so the next one in front of you should actually read the TIB seal coat project.
We just have one called mapping update.
Yeah, that was the type
Wrong
over.
one.
Well, it was a carryover from the previous
No.
task order. So, yeah, this is for the chip seal project. And we would be putting together the plans and specifications for it. And then from there, we're looking at either interlocal agreement with Franklin County to do the work, or trying to tag along with Benton County on their project. I don't know if we're too late to get added for their bidding process to Benton counties, but We're gonna look at the option to see if we can get more for the dollar. So,
So what do you need from us?
approval of the task order, the amended task order.
Yeah, I don't have a task order on that, but
It is, it's on the packet.
where?
We don't have any dollars.
I'm looking at 19,020.
Yeah, and it mistakenly says, the
yellow-
project is a mapping of
Yeah,
it.
the yellow sheet is incorrect, but the
Yeah,
task order below is correct. If you want
Gotcha.
me to-
other than the title. It
Other
has to
than
be-
the title.
I motion to approve task order 2023-2 Spring Engineering for the TIB Silco project in the amount of $19,020.
Second,
Yeah,
is there a discussion?
nope.
Okay,
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sandra, do I?
Wadsworth, I.
Reed, aye.
Funk, I
Alcazar, I.
Okay, motion carries. And
right.
unless there are any other general council comments, we have no executive sessions for change.
Are you entertaining
I
the
could
motion to
only-
adjourn?
Yes,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Sandra, do I?
So Alan, I have a quick question. If for somehow we do get that bridge, I know